Hello, good morning friends. Today we will talk of the crisis in the banks all over the world. Now the question people are asking is whether these crises in the bank will it lead to the collapse of the companies across the world itself or not. It's a very vital issue because we are in the share market and we have to ensure that the banking fears which are returning time and again do not spoil our profits. So let us see first of all the basic cause of the collapse of the failures of the banks. We will check in US, we will check in Europe, and also we will check what will happen to the India. So let's go ahead with this topic. And friends, you also must be knowing that within 72 hours, 2 US large banks have failed due to the crisis confidence. What is this crisis confidence? The crisis confidence is that the depositors are withdrawing their money from the banks. 2 banks from US, namely those banks were Signature Bank and Silicon Valley banks. Now, within 72 hours of US collapse, there is a collapse of Credit Suisse. A European bank also collapsed. Believe me, this is sending the fears across the world whether keeping money in the banks is safe or not. Friends, let us come down to this issue and examine in little more detail. As I said earlier, 2 banks, that is Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank, collapsed in US, and in spite of the assurances given by the US President that we will fund these banks so that the depositors' money and confidence is restored in the bank. But due to the regulatory failures, so far the money has not been provided to the banks. And what is happening then? The people are withdrawing their deposits from the bank and keeping with them. Let me tell you friends that when once the depositors withdraw money from the banks, banks have got no money to lend, which is their core business, number 1. Number 2, the depositors or the public at large stop spending money on the luxury items, and gradually if the situation defaults, then even the companies also get affected. The balance sheet of the companies also get affected, because when there is no sales in the company, people are keeping money in their homes, banks have no money to lend, then what will happen to the businesses? So this is a vicious circle which is sending shock waves across the world. US Fed meeting, which is now rescheduled to be held on 21st and 22nd of March. Now, normally what is happening is for the last about 2 years time, every time the Fed meets, the interest rates are hiked by 25 basis point to 50 basis points just to minimize or minimize the inflation. Now, when the people are already withdrawing money from the bank and not willing to spend in the market, then inflation automatically will get corrected. And this is a tricky issue now, that on 21st and 22nd March, when the Fed meetings takes place, whether the interest rates will rise or not. Friends, mark my words, when the US actually is increasing the interest rates, it impacts the market. The prices tend to fall because the commodities go out of the reach of the common man. So let's see on 21st and 22nd March, our market, National Stock Exchange, will react to this on 23rd of March. Let's check what happens on that day. Friends, the European Credit Suisse Bank, which has defaulted In Europe, it is the largest banks. Fine. Government actually, the Swiss government or the Swiss National Bank has given a lifeline credit of 5,370 crores. But experts say this is peanuts. It cannot sustain the Credit Suisse Bank for a long time. And just let me tell you, friends, that this bank, Credit Suisse Bank, which was established in 1856, in last 1 year, it had lost 7.3 billion Swiss franc and has completely wiped out the entire decade's worth of profits. Now, Credit Suisse Bank is giving its rating internationally, but it doesn't know its own foothold. Their senior executive has been changing in last 2 years 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, I'm sorry. 6 times they have changed. They have tried to evolve different strategies to come out and make the bank profitable. But let me tell you, the bank who is reading the balance sheet of all the companies in the world, their own balance sheet has gone to dogs with a loss of 7.3 billion. Now, friends, I would like to invite your attention here is that in such a scenario, when the European bank has collapsed, will it happen in the other banks also? Yes, yes, and yes, it can happen all over Europe. More banks can fail because expert says that now it is not the banks, it is even the companies which are likely to collapse in the near future. Let us see what will happen to what is happening to the Indian banks. So far, Indian depositors have full confidence in our banking system and deposits are intact. But who knows, the impact so far is very little to be known. The share price of the banks are falling day by day due to the international issues. Now, if our bank share prices of our banks are falling, that shows that even Indian investors, Indian depositors, too have the issues with Indian banks. US bond yield is falling. Yesterday it has fallen by 1%, which is very good for India. But still it is not enough fall because our bank yield is way, way behind, that is 93 and below. Friends, petrol prices, see, when the banks collapse, the economy collapse, the demand will collapse. So what will happen is the petrol prices will collapse. Now at present it is good for our aviation sector. They are using the aviation fuel. It is good for the paint sector because that is their main raw material, and for the oil sector. But how long? When there will be no demand, then aviation will get affected, paint industry will get affected, oil industry will get affected, actually everything will get affected. So, mind you friends, the sword is hanging in our heads too. We cannot be very sure that we will escape the international downfall. That cannot happen. Be very careful. Is it time to invest in the share market? I will say stay away for some time. By staying away, you will be saving some money, or you will be saving from your losses. Because if the banks, Indian banks, which is almost about say 30% or 33% of the weightage in the Nifty, if they fall, nothing can save the traders. Friends, thank you very much. You are with me. You have listened to my story. I have tried to explain in the simple words. Keep watching my videos. Together we will, if today we are not investing into the shares, believe me, by remaining out of the market, we are still earning. That is my very strong belief. Be disciplined, earn tons of money, remain away from the market for the time being. Thank you very much and have a nice day.